I had I had an interesting NBA topic I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
So, well, first of all, just a little bit of overview. From what I've seen of this NBA season, it kind of sucks. I think there's some good stories. With the Chicago Bulls being good and the Golden State Warriors being back to what they were, and there's some
The
teams,
Cleveland Cavaliers,
Cleveland
like I haven't
Cavaliers.
watched them play, but like yeah, they're like the Heat or the Miami Heat are the number one seed, which is they haven't even had all their players playing. Like Jimmy Butler was out a bunch, Bam Adebayo was out a bunch. Tyler Hero has been pretty good this year, like really good this year. Yeah, Phoenix is good again. Golden State's really good. So yeah, there's been a
Yeah,
lot of crap with the Lakers, obviously.
yeah. I mean, listen, the Lakers being just all over the place. I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad for the league, but there's all the injuries and all the teams that are kind of not at full strength. Like it's really made it difficult on the NBA. I mean, you look at the NFL and they have basically all the best players playing, in the playoffs, and it's a much more physically demanding game, and they pretty much have everybody. Meanwhile, night to night in the NBA, you don't know who's playing, you don't know what's going on, so I hope I think it's okay for the regular season. I hope that we get a good playoffs. Like I was really worried about last year's playoffs and ended up being pretty good, but
Yeah,
I am concerned as to how that's going to go. I'm not saying I want the Lakers to win, but the fact that they're really average, really kind of just takes the wind out of it, for me.
yeah. I mean, again, we're Miami Heat fans, so like if they finish with a really high seed, like I like their chances in the first round, and then we'll see, we'll see in the second round. And I don't mind Milwaukee. They're kind of fun. And then like the West, you got I just want to see Phoenix and Golden State play at some point. Whether it's like the semifinals or the Western Conference Finals, like that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So
So it came out that James Harden is unhappy in Brooklyn and might be looking to go somewhere else as a free agent after the season's over. So, I guess my big picture take on this is this Brooklyn Nets thing may be over real quick because
yeah,
if they don't win it this year, like they may not get another opportunity because the whole thing with Kyrie's can't is not going to play, and then well we need him so we'll have him play the road games, right? So it's kind of surfacing that Harden and Kevin Durant are not happy about the way this has gone, So you've got and James Harden can opt out after the season, so he can just take off. Durant's injured for the next month or two, so we don't know what shape they're going to be in by the time he comes back. And James Harden's been out of shape basically the whole season, so
yeah,
it's just I just find it really interesting that these three guys, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, don't seem to have any awareness as to what's going on around them. They're like, no, I want to go play with Kyrie. He's a knucklehead, right? Yeah, yeah. It'll be fine. And it's just, I find it interesting that the smart players in the NBA, they know what teams to go to and they know when to stay somewhere. They know who to play with. And there's just some guys who just don't get it. And that's the thing and I just don't, these three guys, they don't get it. Like they first Kevin Durant agreeing to hitch his wagon with Kyrie was just it was a mistake from the leaving Golden State was a mistake in general, and then going to this thing was a mess from the beginning. I thought it was going to be a problem when it was just the two of them, and then they bring James Harden in, another guy who kind of plays when he wants to, doesn't really not really there for everybody else, just kind of there to get his. And it's like you've got this team that's just a complete mess. So now, that just kind of blows my mind that wow, this whole thing has kind of come full circle. And if they flame out in the playoffs, everybody could be walking, and this could be done. So it just kind of blows my mind. The other thing was that James Harden wants to leave, and Philadelphia wants to trade Ben Simmons, right? So it came out, everybody starts connecting the dots. Well, is Philadelphia going to trade Ben Simmons to Brooklyn for Harden? And the answer to that is no, probably not. Obviously Philly would want to do that, clearly, right? or you watch the way James Harden has played this year, maybe they shouldn't want to do that. But I think Philadelphia would do it. But the interesting wrinkle thrown in there, though, is that, Daryl Morey, the GM for the Philadelphia 76ers, he's still trying to get this great value for Ben Simmons. And, my first thought about that is you're screwing it up for Joel Embiid. He's having an MVP year, okay, and you have a chance to win the title. Make the move, man. But the interesting thing about that is, though, would he be willing to take less for Ben Simmons if they can sign James Harden in the offseason? Because there's a way Philadelphia can work this out so they can try to dump Simmons, try to dump, another contract or two.
Harris.
Yeah, right. And see if they can get James Harden to sign there as a free agent. So I hadn't considered that. It's like, oh, you're looking for this deal. But if you can find, if Daryl Morey thinks he can get James Harden, because James Harden played for Daryl Morey in Houston, he probably would want to play for him again. If he knows, all right, I've got a shot at James Harden, would he be willing in the offseason to take a little bit less, 50 cents on the dollar for Ben Simmons?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of fascinating. I mean, I haven't heard any really good, trade deadlines coming up. Obviously, the Ben Simmons thing is still out there. I haven't heard of any good trades that are, good teams or moves that teams want to make. But I just found that really fascinating that this whole thing, Brooklyn thing, could blow up, and then in the offseason, the whole thing could look differently. And Philadelphia they're just going to waste another, Joel Embiid season. It's just
not going to have that many. He's got too many injuries in his past, and he's just, how long do you think he's really going to hold up?
It's mind blowing because I think they have a couple years of Embiid if they're lucky, and then it's going to be done. And it's like, no, I gotta win the trade. It's like, I think you need to win games.
Let's just consider the Eastern Conference for a second here, okay? If you got Embiid and he's playing like an MVP, okay, and then you've got, you trade Simmons, you get some pieces, you get some shooting, you get some defense, whatever, okay? I mean, the way Brooklyn's playing, I don't really believe in it. So then it becomes, all right, well, I guess it's Milwaukee, right? And then you're like, okay, well, who else you got? You got Miami, you got Cleveland. Cleveland, they haven't even made the playoffs before. And the Miami Heat, like, they don't have enough size. Like, I don't see them getting past the second round of the playoffs. So, like, if you're Philadelphia, like, you could easily get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, you could easily see a situation where you'd be favored to get all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then at that point, it's like, all right, you're in the Eastern Conference Finals. You got a shot to get to the finals. So, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, go for it. Like, now,
Yeah, I think that could be, obviously Philadelphia and Brooklyn will be interesting. I don't think they're going to do anything at the trade deadline. It wouldn't shock me, but I think the trade value for Ben Simmons kind of is what it is. I don't think it's going to change drastically up or down whether they, whether they trade for him now or not. The other interesting move, obviously the Lakers would be looking to try to dump Russell Westbrook. So I heard an interesting thing from Bobby Marks from ESPN. He was suggesting, that if he was the general manager of the Knicks, that he would call the Lakers and ask them about Russell Westbrook. Because look, the Knicks are obviously not going to win the championship, right? But you put Russell Westbrook in Madison Square Garden, the fans are going to love it. He would be a selling point. Nobody's going to the New York Knicks games to see Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker, So it just, so I don't think that has any possibility of happening. But
I don't see how the hell they're going to offload that contract. It's just too big. Like, I kind of feel like they assembled the team this way, and it's like, okay, this is it. So,
yeah, no, they're not going to. They're not going to necessarily make their. They might be able to. Make their team fit a little bit better. But yeah, I think this is fascinating. James Harden forced his way out of Houston to get to Brooklyn, and now he's like, yeah, I'm not happy here. It's just It blows my mind. They set this whole thing up, and that the best they might do last year is a second round playoff exit. That might be the best that they do.
Well, this just goes back to one of those things that I've been saying the last several years. Like the Miami Heat thing with LeBron and Wade and Bosh, it worked because they were good friends. Not just because they were good friends, but they were the right kind of players. They were willing to make sacrifices to make everything work. And plus they were in Miami, which has a really good culture that's already established there. So that's why it worked. Okay. Some of these other places, like it worked in Golden State. Why? Because, well, they had won a championship and they had a good thing going, but some of these other teams, they try to assemble this stuff and it doesn't work. And it's like, well, like the Clippers, I mean, granted, if Kawhi didn't get hurt last year, they probably would have made the finals and maybe won it. But it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's tough when you don't have three guys like that are really committed to winning and doing all the right stuff, so
yeah,
that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I saw on YouTube, like one of the clips from The Ringer was like, is Kevin Durant the unluckiest player in the NBA? And I'm just like, look, Kevin Durant's fine. Like, this is not, oh my God, if he doesn't win a championship in Brooklyn, it's not going to destroy his career. Like, he's got two rings. He's one of the best players ever to play the game. Like, it's good. Like, his resume is solid. He's never going to, he's probably never going to approach top 5 all time because, they may not win enough.
Yeah.
But he's in pretty good shape. I'm not worried about Kevin Durant's career.
People could argue he's unlucky with a few things, but yeah, So, I mean, getting hurt the last year in Golden State, they would have three-peated. So, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, so, listen, if you're a fan of an NBA team, man, you got a shot because this thing's open. This thing is really, like, I just, as far as championship contenders go, I mean, I like Phoenix. I think Chris Paul is just going to eventually get hurt. I think it happens every year. It's probably going to happen this year.
Because it's smaller, it's impossible to avoid. Yeah.
Golden State, they're counting on a lot of guys who've never done it in the playoffs before. So,
right.
So we'll see about that. In the East, I mean, Milwaukee's kind of, they're kind of struggling right now. I feel like they'll get it together at some point, but there's no team you're afraid of in either conference. So, yeah, good NBA season. I mean, hopefully it'll be a good playoffs. I'm a little, but it's a little bit messy right now, and hopefully they'll clean it up. After the trade deadline, we'll start to see some really good basketball.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but I mean, Brooklyn. I was at first when it was just Kyrie and Kevin Durant. I was like, they're not gonna win a championship. Then they got Harden. I'm like, okay, I could see this working. And going into the playoffs, I was like, I think they're gonna win. I just don't think they're gonna get all three of them healthy on the floor at the same time, doing all the right stuff together. And I just don't think it's ever gonna work. It's ever gonna officially happen. I think Nick Wright kind of made a point last year where he's like, this is the Brooklyn Nets sort of in theory, it's great, but when you actually get on the court, it's not what everyone's billing it as. And that's kind of been what's happened for various reasons. So.
Yeah. All right, folks.